morning on this Thursday where it's a beautifully fantastic and just a nice start to the morning here, as we still know we have at least until tomorrow night when the futures market goes offline. So it leaves a tremendous amount of time here for this market to continue to push up in our favor. As some would call it, October. At least we're out of September, which was a bearish month to say the least. But now that October started, the first 2 days have started relatively nice. Right now, we're still heading in a great direction. I'll sit down in a couple minutes, but I got done working out and I gotta let my back kind of go back into place. But I got my chair right here. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure to hit that like button so that we can push around YouTube. I greatly, greatly appreciate each and every one of you. We talked yesterday about Lenia, and I said where I was thinking about buying, and right now it's taking that downward route. And pay attention, because I'm gonna buy this. Zero question in my mind, I'm buying this. I'm just looking for this third area tap. We got 1, 2, 3. Now it looks like if we can just clear out, it should re-tap around 2.5 maybe. It's not gonna be a whole crazy thing I'm waiting for. I just didn't want to buy when it was way overbought in the smaller time frame right there, because I'll just show you a directive. But it's down about 5% now from that hit on the 200 days. So I think we're in the right directive on where we're thinking to let this clear out. I just wanted to start with this. We'll pay more attention to CRO as well. I know I went off because I didn't want to watch it as much after the big push up, because I don't like to do that when I own stuff. Because when it with stuff we don't talk about on the show as much. But we'll keep watching this, because this is one that we got to stay in the right spot. And I think if we start to look at Swift versus Ripple, and it's very intriguing. You've got the Swift versus Ripple, and everybody thinking that Swift was just going to go away, which we've talked in this community for years about how they created the Swift GPI. They're going to compete. They're not going anywhere. That liquidity is going to stay with them. But XRP is going to gain the liquidity of banking, of finance, and other things. Now, I think everybody thinks it's XRP is going to take every single bank in the world or all liquidities in the world. That's not what it is. The banks that XRP is going to focus on are central run banks by the central bankers, which would be like a JP Morgan, which would be more like your Bank of America's and your Wells Fargo and those kind of facilities. What it doesn't include is the credit unions. And I didn't know who would take over the credit union. And it's interesting, yesterday we got into Proton, well, formerly Proton, but XPR. And I did a lot of research after the show, and that credit union bit is true. They're going to use XPR for credit unions. So think of XRP with all the central bank linkings, and XPR now here in the States for the credit unions, which is huge freaking news. So I've got a big shift in my mindset towards Lenia, and think about it this way. You've got XRP versus Lenia as the Ripple versus Swift battle intensifies. So how we got XRP at 34 cents, and in no way am I telling you to sell XRP, but why not also have Lenia at 2 cents when no one's paying attention to it, when the mind is strictly on XRP is going to take all of Swift's stuff? We beat behind the bush, and we start to cut through the narrative, and we start to look at it in a different way. And now we have both sides of the coin. Like, we're going to rule. I mean, we're absolutely going to kick ass with XRP. We already are. Since 34 cents, we're kicking the shit out of it right now. And we're going to continue to do it for all eternity, because I'm not selling it. And we're just going to roll with it. And if we come down to a level where I can buy more, I will. But why not have XRP at 34? And while everybody's still buying it at $3 for the first time, shift our attention on Swifts. And this is a beta test right now. But this is the blockchain they're choosing. They can call it what they want, but when you read it a little bit deeper, there's a reason they chose it. And it's pretty freaking awesome. And I know it's on Ethereum and it's layer 2, but it's the top people that work in the blockchain that are on that project for a reason. So, and you think of centralized finance, Ethereum is well written in by, a lot of being bought and paid for, but it's written into the USA. Like, the USA accepts Ethereum big time. So it makes sense that it would be in that sense. So anyhow, why not take advantage of this at 2 cents like we took advantage of XRP at 34? And who knows, maybe it goes to a cent, maybe it goes farther, maybe the structure breaks down. You know, Lenia and its blockchain isn't brand new, but being put on the market as a token is put out on September 10th. And it's down about 40% since it topped out. Came out at about 2.8, went all the way up to almost 5 cents, maybe a little bit more. And now it's come down just over 40%. So it's really new to the market. So it's still in discovery. Very much in discovery. Its market cap was 410 million. I think it's going to move in multiples of 10 when this is said and done. And what I mean by that is it's going to go from 2.4 cents when it gets on a big rally to go to 24 cents. And then you'll see it in the several dollar range, which means it'll move in multiples of 10, in my opinion, as it does it. But not yet. That's why I talk about things so much. We could very much come all the way back down to the bottom of the exhaustion. We won't know until we see if this holds out. So my thinking is at 248, you know, probably, or not 248, 24. Actually, let me look at this in the daily. 247-ish. Yeah, 247-ish area. If it comes back down there, that would be the uptrend that's starting to hit now, because we would have had 1, 2. This didn't come all the way down, but it did get supported by the uptrend. But it's just how far in the smaller time frames. We were just overbought. We came out too quick. I think it wants to get one more hit here to test. If not, and this needs to break down, because we've disseminated that this is a wedge area. This is a wedge. And I've got, and I know it sounds crazy out the gate, but I've got around $11,000 that's going to be implored into this over time. So it all depends on what this formation does, how many I'll end up having at the end of the day, but it's going to be about $11,000. I've already decided I'm going to have 1/3 of my value of XRP. Not selling my XRP, but I want to have 1/3 of the value of what XRP is worth before the rally starts. Does that make sense? So instead of like we started with XRP at 3,500 and now it's worth about 30,000, I want to have 11,000. So in the case, it'll already be worth 110,000 when it does a 10x move. But we're so early. This would be like buying XRP at 2.5 cents. To put it in perspective. You son of a bitch, Crypto Cuda. Good morning. 10:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Thursday, October 7th. You see those pumpkins coming out? 2025. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. So, So with all of this that's been happening, there's certain things that I have bought into recently, as you know. And IOTA is one of them. Once we got on to WEX, I was able to start to implore there. And no, I didn't buy them all at 15 and 4. There was a lot at 17, you know, and some at 16 area. But WEX allowed me that, and I put in to 40,000 tokens. That's going to sit on WEX because I can do it on spot for a very long time unless I can add more. With Lenia, I have that on TOOBIT, which I highly encourage you all to use Lenia, or to at least look into it. I encourage you not to use it. You can't use Lenia. I mean, you could to send stuff back and forth, but at least look into it and look at that relationship Swift is starting to essentially build here. And then I encourage you to look at TOOBIT. If you were a fan of Bit Unix, and it's in the video description below and our pinned comment. So is WEX if you're interested in buying IOTA in spot. Because the more I thought about it, I want it in spot. So I bought it on WEX. And I kept it on WEX. I was going to switch it over to the future side of TOOBIT, but I did not. My XDC, which I have, is on Kraken. I was going to do it on WEX as well. But the copy trading function's not working. So I'm keeping the 100,000 plus XDC on Kraken. I'm keeping the 40,000 IOTA on WEX, and I'm going to keep the $11,000 worth of Lenia when I buy it on TOOBIT. So, and that's if you're a futures trader, if you're looking for the lower fees, WeX has it as well, but TOOBIT has a growing relationship here in the USA, and it's going to be interesting. So any of those I encourage. TOOBIT, obviously, because if you want to have a BitUnix-like feel, it's much more personable, in my opinion. I know some of you have used it, but the question remains, would you buy IOTA or Lenia? Well, I can't answer that. Because you have to, here's my opinion about what you have to have. Oh, an algo, 30,000 algo that I have, that is on that is on Kraken, just because I sent it there from crypto.com before. I'm not sure why. I very well could keep it on crypto.com for the staking. It's just, I didn't want to keep so much liquidity. On crypto.com, I have CRO, the 35,000 plus tokens that I continuously earn for rewards as well. So it goes up every day when I spend my prepaid card. So I use different exchanges for different reasons. The XRP Healthcare app, the reason I have that is I store my XRP Healthcare, which is like 102,220 tokens, and my XRP with its 12,220 tokens. No, 10,000 within there. But I have a couple thousand more on liquidity so I can move around for payments and things like that. But 10,222 stay in the XRP Healthcare app. So those are the untouchables. Sometimes I buy XRP to move it around, but I just don't count that in my holdings. That's just, I buy it, I might put it on the prepaid debit card and whatever, yada yada. My algo was staked for a long time, but I unstaked it like 4 weeks ago when I opened my Kraken account. And I put it onto there because I just didn't want to have so much stuff on crypto.com. I had too much, and they keep asking more and more personal questions. So I said crypto.com's only for the prepaid debit card. And if you want to do the credit card through them to earn CRO as well. And then I have the Ruby level of CRO. So I had to buy, at the time, 30,000 tokens because it was only at 8 cents or 9 cents. So I had to buy a shitload of them, it felt like, to buy that level. Because you had to have $5,000 in CRO, so it was like 30-something thousand at the time. Well, cumulatively, because it went up after. So once it cumulatively went up, I updated my card. The first one, you had to have 1,000. And then the next level was like 2,500 or 3,500. And then after it appreciated, it went from the next tier to the Ruby card. And you can't get pushed down if you keep it in. Just because the price depreciates, it still averages it out from where you bought it and where it rose up to and things like that. So you're not going to lose your privilege. But so I have 35,000 plus by default. So I keep my CRO and my prepaid debit card there, which right now I have somewhere around 11 to 12,000. I like to keep it. I like to have over 10,000 at any given time. On the prepaid debit card, I like to be very personable with my audience, so you know what I do. Because I like to have a setup in a very transcending way to where I understand what I'm doing. You know, and then CRO, I really don't give a rat's ass what it does. It can take 10 years for all I care. It's part of what I have to do for my prepaid card. But I think the bigger question is as much as I like XYO and things like this, it's almost like, does it become non-essential now? I don't think so. I mean, it is right now because it's on the bottom half of this pattern, so you can't do anything with this. Because if you get a rejection here at 104 area, you run the risk of falling 40% almost. So you got to make sure it comes out of here. I would almost say you can't even touch this until it finally gets back over the 1.4 area and proves to us that we're going to push into those higher depths. So this is kind of on the back burner until I can see some evidence that it's ready. Because this one, like Band, until you get it in the right spot, they do the pump and dump scheme very well. Same with Dent. But once you get in the right spot, and this could be starting to get there with that inverse pattern, but they do this pump and dump stuff. So I always have setups where I think it's good. Dent or Band now, what you're going to want to see is it back tests this 64 at some point, or it's going to work its way in time all the way through here into mid-November. So we're going to see this in real time, how this is going to play out. I still think Band should be in your portfolio when it gets into your likable area, but I want to keep focused on Lenia because I know it's in this transcending formation. It's awesome because it's in discovery in a sense. If it falls past 2-4, thank your lucky stars because we're going to get it so fucking cheap. We're going to make a shitload of money off of it. I'm telling you right now that I have the same gut feeling I had with XRP. Everybody's going to be looking at XRP, and nobody thinks Swift is supposed to materialize. And once the news came out, this thing surged up. I didn't talk about it when that first happened. So, wait, no, don't buy it yet. Lenia, I mean, you can buy Lenia now if you want, but don't buy it yet. Remember what I said yesterday? I'm waiting for it to at least show me that it can hold 248 to that area, this uptrend. Don't buy it yet. Absolutely not. This is a broadening pattern. So what you're going to see is resistance, support, resistance, support. Remember, in a broadening style wedge, you only need 2 hits on each side if that's what this is. So, and honestly, if you're watching, I don't charge for any of my content. I've been doing this since March 24th of 2021. The beautiful members of Tom's Army are doing that to pay it forward because I come here every single day and I just give the information I know, and I'm trying to transcend my audience into abundance. Along with myself, which has happened from, negative air to cent air. As we were going, me and Julie used to laugh, but we were negative airs, which meant when we paid our bills, we were in the negative. Had debt out the ass, no credit, all this other shit, barely living, surviving. Then we got into cent air, which was nice because we weren't in debt after every month, but we still had no credit. Then we got into dollar air and we're able to start to not pay off debts, but we could eat. Then we got into $1,000 airs, which we got to pay off our debt and do everything. Actually, in the 100 and 1,000 range, you start to pay off debt. Then with the community, we went from 1,000 air, and now we're 6-figure air. Not high 6-figure air when it comes to liquidity, when it comes to our holdings. And in crypto, I have, let me add this up. With XRP Healthcare, you're talking at any given time, I don't know what it is exactly, but about 36,000 right now if you just base it off of 10,000 and the 100,000. We've got about $4,000 on BitUnix. I like to keep it spicy, and I like BitUnix though, and I don't care what anybody says. But I keep it transparent because I tell you that in the USA it might not be as easy. So I have 11,000 on TOOBIT. So that's 15 plus that. So that's 50,000 for crypto purposes. I didn't say how much on Kraken yet, but that's at least another $14,500 currently. Between Algo and XDC, I'm assuming that's all of that. So that's 64,500. Plus, I don't know what CRO's worth right now, if I'm being honest. So I mean, that's probably another. Oh, wait a minute, I know what it is. It's worth 21 cents right now. So on 30,000, 35,000, that's another like 7,000. So I mean, you're talking, and then IOTA. You're talking about, I mean, we were at $3,500 in the market of crypto, and now it's probably 70,000 plus is being used in the crypto market. And then obviously we built not obviously, if you're new, some of the wealth went into mining stocks, which we've all been buying together. And that's right. I mean, it was at 100,000, but I'm going to say 95 or 90, I'll just say 90 in case we have a 10% pullback. But right now it hit 6 figures for the first time together, and we started that at $6,000. So, and we kept investing over time. But yeah, so we built together, I mean, for myself personally in the community, and we've been buying gold and silver, gold as a community since 1700 roughly, and then silver all the way down at $16 and up. I stopped buying gold and silver when gold hit 2,000 with the community, and then silver when it hit 27, 28. Might have made some at 30, I can't remember, or 29, never 30, because I focused on the mining stocks. So we have a big plan here, and it continues to get bigger, but sometimes in the lives, I'll speak of what I do in a more detailed way, because I feel like I don't know, I feel a connection with the audience, and I want you to know what I'm trying to build together. Like, XRP Future Millionaire, you know, all of this that I just talked about started with $3,500 in XRP back in 2021. That turned into 18,000, and the rest is history because I sold it beautifully at $1.66 and let it come all the way down to sub 40. This was all made. Everything I just spoke of was all from that 3,500. So I want us all to be able to do this. And I teach little tricks and niches, but it takes time. I'm not going to come here and say XRP's going to 1,000. It's irrational. Can it get to 10? You better fucking believe it. Can we have a push between 10 and 20? There's no doubt in my mind. This cycle, probably not, but it's possible. I think this cycle we're destined for $5.49 and ultimately $6.39, and it's built in. And we've been talking about it for 4 years. So I'm not going to stop believing that now because I already have it set up in my chart. So I thank everybody for being here and everybody who asked to see the guns, because some people are like, you talk about all this working out. So I'll show you them today just so you can see that I'm not full of shit. Let's see. Where's the best way? Does that prove I'm not full of shit to my audience? Yeah. See? I've been slaying in the gym. I've been slaying. I've been working hard. When I first started on YouTube, I was 193 pounds with no muscle. And now I'm 174 pounds, and I put on a lot of muscle. But I have a mentality. I've been fasting for almost 4 years straight now, 16 hours a day doing intermittent fasting. So we're trying to grow mind, body, and soul. So don't forget to thank your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ on this beautiful morning. Yahweh, Yahshua, our Lord and Savior, our higher power God Almighty. And like I always say, we do have some in here who praise Allah. We do have some in here who praise Buddha. And we are not here to judge. The point is if we have the same mindset of our higher power and we believe in the good of all, don't judge everybody else, because I have people from 70-something countries in here, so we're all going to be different. What do you mean hard for the USA? What do you mean? It's hard in the USA because of what's going on with the devaluing of the dollar. So we have to stay ahead by inflation, and the savings rate doesn't do it. So yeah, it's hard in the US. Bro, you are in the US. What do you mean hard for US? Fucking guns. I love it. Oh, $20 donation. I didn't even notice that. Joseph Euler, welcome in, and thanks for the $20 donation. And also part of Tom's Oven for 6+ months with the XRP Meteor. Thank you so much for that. And like somebody said, welcome to the gun show. I don't often show the progress, so next time you guys will be able to tell me, is there any progress? I made a lot of progress since the last time. No steroids here, though. This is all natural. You know, the most underrated workout is the tricep pull down. I'm telling you right now, the tricep pull down, if you do a pull down and then a curl, because you want to do push, pull. So like basically, if you do a pull down, you want to do a pull up. If you do a curl, you want to do a tricep pull down. So do a pull down and a curl. No matter how you think of it. So if you do like a curl, you pull down. And then if you pull down, you might as well also do an inverted pull down, because then you work it a little different. So, but don't do high weight. I legitimately, and people laugh at me whenever I say it, I legitimately am doing this with 40 pounds up and down with the pull down, but I do 40 on the outside, sets of 4. So I do 44 times on the outside. Then I come inside for 4 sets of 25. Then I go back to the outside for 4 sets of 15. And then a slightly expanded inside pull down for another 25 for 4 sets. But those are all one set. So 40, 25, 15, 15, one set. 40, 25, 15, 15, second set. But because I'm using less weight, My muscles are, I never thought about this when I was younger, but it saves you so much friction. And I broke my back when I was younger, so it's hard for me to do stuff anyhow. But I don't use it as an excuse. But the light weights, I don't know how we got into weights, but I love health and fitness and things like that. So I'm gonna sit down now. Let's sit down. Let's sit down and get to business. I feel like I could sit now. Is Lenia a distraction? Why is it a distraction, Shane? It's not distraction for anything. It's just you're playing both sides of the fence here. XRP versus or Swift versus Ripple. Why not play both sides? Why not a distraction? I don't think that's a distraction at all. Who the hell's talking about Lenia? I did a search on YouTube and look at the information coming out. I think it's more than that. I think it's a speculative play, just like XRP was at its low points. And if you time this right, not just because everybody's seen the news a couple days ago, and this peaked in the beginning, and I'm glad that I didn't start talking about it, and because now it's starting to build. Watch this. It could be building into a descending formation now, which could be meaning that we're getting ready for a move. You want to start seeing, Shane, something like this. Because we're in this broadening wedge, it looks like. At least it's wedgy to me. But you want to start to see this. See how this is starting to narrow out? And you can see these resistance points. That means we're getting tight. And once you can squeeze in here and we can hold this support structure, this is your stepping stone for your big breakout. So yes, you need to hold here for this to stay valid. But if it holds this setup, we're starting to get some kind of evidence. Remember what I used to do with XRP Healthcare, Shane? When it was at that cheap point and I said, hey, I didn't talk about it because I don't know, but I waited for this little uptrend to develop. I didn't talk about this for 2 weeks, even though, I felt like I probably should have to inform everybody. But it needs to build this setup. Otherwise, everybody just buys it the moment I talk about it. So when I talk about things, I try to do it in the right timing to where, hey, if this happens in this way, because I'll be very straight with everybody. If this doesn't form like this, I'm not worried about measuring a move down from this. I'm worried about a measured move down from here if this breaks down, because it's so in the moment. And a measured move from there would absolutely start to fill out some of this exhaustion, kind of give us a bottom from here without the wick. And that would already be down to 167. Now, if you escalate this and say, well, it is kind of forming this little wedge style setup, and we've already got evidence right here that it's hit twice. Now you start to build this a little bit farther, but what if it went all the way up higher? So there's a lot to look at. 4 hourly still overbought. So I want to see the 4 hourly meet the daily. Daily's way oversold. So we want to start to see this, but I'm not convinced that it's going to hold this setup and it doesn't need to come down and exhaust this, because think about buying it at 2.5, but then it comes to 1.25. Then you sit there and you're like, I knew this was a piece of shit. I'm down 50% in 4 days. But then the person who buys the drop, they're like, oh my God, I'm going to be a millionaire. Because, irrational thinking right off the bat. But that's just but if you buy it in the right spot, you can have that irrational thought. Like, look at XRP. When we first bought it at 34 cents, I said, I guarantee, and I don't like to use guarantees, but I said, I guarantee if you buy this with me at 34 cents, it's going to turn into 34,000. And I had the 3,500 to 35,000 challenge, remember? Cha-ching! That was a success. Anybody could have cashed out the 3,500 for 35,000. Who else tells you that for free, doesn't fluff you up, and tells you that it's going to take time, but if you follow this, and I'm not a financial advisor, nor do I pretend to be, and this is for entertainment, obviously, but it's more than entertainment. But yeah, it's still not financial advice. But then you could turn that in. That's life-changing money. You made 32 grand. Imagine how much you could do with that, because it's life-changing when you start doing that. My first move from 3,500 to 18,000 was the big life-changing crypto, because I was able to employ capital. And now my house is paid off and it's easier living, and it's just when you're I always push the debt-free living in here. A lot of people hate Dave Ramsey, but take one thing from him: the debt-free living, you do things different. When you don't have the emotion of bills over the top, you can trade different. You can do things different. You just can. Our goal is to get about, what, $1 to $2 million. And if you can do it properly through mutual funds over time, I'm not going to get 1 or 2 million likely. Well, depends, because compounding interest, yada, yada, yada. $7,000 a year starting at 40, which now I had 14,000 put in through this year. Next year, another 7, so over 25 years. You know, without even the compounding interest, you know, you're talking about, and it goes up sometimes. Just what I can put in is 140,000 over 20, but it goes up when you get older, but I'm just basing it on what I am. So you're talking about 150,000 roughly you'll be able to put in. Plus you talk about the 10% compounding interest per year, so every 7 years you double. So you figure that's over 3.5 doublings. So I mean, it could push there close, and then you're not even talking about, but you have to try to get a rate of return of 10% to double every 7 years. It's just the way it works out. But then you figure even if you have 500,000 and you live off the interest on that 10% a year, you got 50 grand a year when you retire. You know, so that's why I'm trying to build it in that way. And yeah, do I think they're the best thing since sliced bread? Absolutely not, but you can play the emerging markets in the mutual funds. And you can write off the $7,000 off their bottom line, so you make $7,000 less a year on your income tax. So, or on your overall taxation. So yeah, it's worth it, in my opinion. So, you know, if you want to learn more about that, I would highly encourage you to watch Dave Ramsey. Don't buy his Every Dollar app and all this stupid shit. You can just do it yourself. But listen to him for what he has. Anyhow, Glenn Barlow, welcome in, and Craig Carlson, along with Frankie Fresh. Thank you all for being in Tom's over 6+ months with the XP Predictor. Shane and Dan, thanks so much, Margin. Mr. Marginal, for being in Tom's over 3+ months with the XP Meteor. Mrs. G. Stott, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for your 2nd month with the Dusty's Outhouse Crypto News. Fantastic, Mrs. Stott, to be in here. I love seeing you in here. Such a blessing. Frankie Fresh, thanks for being in Tom's Army for 6+ months with the XP Predictor with Craig Carlson and Joseph Euler. And Frankie Fresh, I hope your hand's doing good. We continue to pray for your continued reintegration of the use of your full function of your hand, and hopefully the brace is helping and allowing you to get through this in a more comfortable fashion. It's quite the contraction you got on there. Like you said, you're like Edward Scissorhands, but kind of true. Wouldn't want to mess with you walking by. But also give Janine my love. Janine, if you're watching, I appreciated you commenting yesterday during the live. It was awesome getting to talk back and forth and seeing you communicate with the audience, which you do a lot, actually. Awesome. Poppy Lou, Jess Sennett, and Dennis Smith, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for 3+ months with the XP Meteor. Massey, Eddie, Mario, Louise, Willamese in the house. What a name. Thank you, all 3 of you, for being in here. Love it. We missed you, Mario, Louise, Willamese. I know you watch even if you don't comment, but I love saying that name. Who wouldn't love to say Mario, Louise, Willamese? Awesome. Mosey here, good morning, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. Mr. G. Stott is in here along with Mrs. Stott. Thank you so much, Mr. Stott, for being in here for your 2nd month as well with the Dusty's Outhouse Crypto News. Love seeing couples in here as well. Makes me so happy. Let's see. Just Sunday, good morning, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for 3+ months with the XP Meteor. Ringnut, good morning. Says I can't buy Lenia on any exchange I'm on. It's on TOOBIT. It's on Kraken. I believe it might be on BitUnix, but I'm going to buy it on TOOBIT. Might be on WeX as well. I can't remember. I know Proton. I think Proton's on WeX. That's the other thing. If you want XPR and IOTA are definitely, those are on WeX, because what we're hearing about XPR is they're going to be basically doing the credit union finances, as to where we think XRP is going to be doing the other banking with like central banking. We're going to have the credit unions, and it looks like Proton got a big leap ahead there. So yeah, Proton is on WeX. So there's a very big reason why you should have WeX for certain things. Like spot IOTA and spot XPR and things like that. And Lenia for the low wholesale fees if you want to have that bit Unix feel. That's just my opinion. Oh yeah, Ronald Grump. That's why I brought up the layer 2. It's going to be interesting. Thanks for being in Tom's Army for 1 month with the emoji badge of me being abducted by aliens. I love seeing some of you in 1 month. It's been slow getting new members, but we're expanding ever so slightly. Well, that's not true. We're still falling a little bit, but we're holding serve. Crypto Cooter, good morning, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for 6+ months with the X-Week Predictor. Along with McMichael, and thank you, Crypto Cooter, for being a very trusted mod in here in the Telegram. Potsy Weaver, good morning. Luminosity, welcome in. Pete's Canine Coaching, where can you buy it? I'm assuming you're talking about this fine token here, Lenia. TOOBIT is where I'm buying it. I know you can buy it on Kraken. I can only speak of the exchanges I have that I think it would be even worthwhile buying it on. Let me check WeX in case you have that, if anybody has that exchange. Yeah, it's on WeX as well. And then if you have Bit Unix. Yep, it's on there too. So, any of the ones we talk about. Any of the ones we talk about. Those common shares, man, are going to make it spicy for Dolly Varden. I don't like when they introduce common shares. I like that they introduced them at a much higher price. I do. But I think this is going to cause a little chaos for a minute. Unfortunately. But this is the liquidity we need. So hopefully it'll just come down here and bounce. But we'll see. When you announce common shares, even though it was at $6.50, you're still overinflating the supply. You're inflating the supply. Unlike what Silver Corp did, and they actually bought back 6 million or so common shares. Dolly Varden put it out. They put them back out. So just pay attention to that. Could be a better buying opportunity to come because of what just happened. So we talked about that yesterday. But we have to correct some. I'm shocked that we haven't corrected any. Like, I want to see a 10% correction in these markets. It would be very beneficial for the mining stocks. Very beneficial. So we'll see what happens here. I love it though. Money finds yield, so if it's not finding, that could be the drop down, Nick. The token unlock. That could be why it's speaking of a further drop down here. So I said I want to wait to see where it actually goes. Oh, when you hold a coin at 1x, absolutely. That's why I chose the buy IOTA on WeX and Spot instead of IOTA on the futures 1x on Bit Unix or on TOOBIT. As much as I like TOOBIT, I'd rather have IOTA and Spot on WeX. So if you want to go the Spot route, it's in the video description below under pinned comments of this very chat. And TOOBIT is there as well. Those are the two links up there for a reason. Great question, Craig, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for 6+ months with the XP Predictor. Eddie Lance, welcome in. XR people do 10x from here. Maybe. I don't know about that. I don't know. It's possible. I think that could be written in. I think we could make that run at some point, but not in this cycle. Let's focus on getting to 549 and 639, and then that first run from 10 to 20, which is going to be all inspiring. I agree with the over $12 briefly. I don't know about this cycle. I think this cycle, like I said, 649 seems to be what we're going to be targeting. Let's see. Shouldn't we still have a back test that would allow us to buy it? Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why I've been talking about if this area doesn't hold and we drop down this for Lenia, this is what I'm looking for, this wick exhaustion. Wouldn't it be fucking great if it comes down into these areas? I think that's what you'd be looking for. I think this is the hype that follows the announcement. And then you wait for it to pour out. But we have to talk about it leading into the fallout, right? So that's why yesterday I said, not yet, but I will be buying this. And it's all ends are going to meet, and I hope it falls out. I do. I hope it falls out. And then it comes down into these layers and comes extremely oversold with that October 10th, dumping onto the market. But as you know, with XRP, sometimes it's strategically done to where it might be dumped on the market, but it's not dumped on the market because they can use it in other ulterior ways to get it to institutions. If you wink, wink, nudge, nudge, if you catch my drift. So, but we have to pay attention when it's being dropped. Absolutely. Crypto Cuda said I was working on building into my auto position, but Lenia does intrigue me based on the price and the Swift connection. It's just hard building both assets, but I'm thinking I may have. Yeah, it is, but make sure you pay attention also and don't get overexcited about Lenia and let it come to you. Think about what I'm saying. If it goes down 50%, you can have both. If that ends up happening with the same money, you're just not down 50% on Lenia because it still hasn't proven that it's ready to break the trend. The pattern trend, that is. It hasn't been able to break it. So just understand it's still in a bearish little consolidation here. And it should, in theory, and this is just theoretical because we don't know with this token, because sometimes when they do this, they just immediately go back up. But you would think, because it did one of these and it went up and we ended up melting up, you would think we'd melt down in a similar fashion because we went to this top wick for the most part and melted back up to retest that. The only thing we haven't done is exhausted the down wick. So I'd say we're more likely to re-extend that down wick. Nick knows what I'm talking about. Not saying we have to come all the way there, but it's just like we've seen it build up into here to try to rebuild back towards the, what was it, about 4.5, 5 cent area, 4.4. I think we're going to see the same affliction here down and try to rebuild down or step back down to the 0.0594 and clear out all that liquidity as well. So it almost seems ridiculous to not think that we're going to melt down a little bit here. So I'm comfortable here. I'm comfortable because we're looking at this early. So now we can get our entry and our accumulation. So that's what I'm looking at. I said a couple days ago, don't buy precious metals right here with the, not precious metals, but don't buy mining stocks where they're at right now because they're up so much. Have to have a little correction here. It has to. Leading into the next rate cut, it has to. It's just the prices are slightly different from where they were before. Are they not? So, just be patient. If you didn't get it this time around, just be patient. And it'll come back around. Come back around. In crypto, be patient because we very well could have pushed up into resistance zones. And we just got to find the proper buy-in if you're not in yet. XRP, still in a very dangerous area. It still hasn't done anything special yet. We're going to want to see a back test here at about 293, 292. And then try to push out of this area. Right now is at about 302. Ultimately take that pivot point at 306. And then we're stuck. We haven't had the parabolic push out, like the move from this. But if we can hold this, it would be great. We just haven't had the back test at 284 on top of this pattern yet. So we'll see what it has in store. 4 hourly is massively overbought here in the stochastic. So we'll pay attention to that as the day goes on. Ethereum pushed up right to that 4,385 as we thought it would. Now it put us in a very overbought scenario. So you would think there'd be a further retest coming of this breakout. So we'll see. But it's come right up to where we thought. Perfectly. So now that that's filled out, we're pretty overbought here. Bitcoin is probably going to be in the same scenario. Oh, yeah. Severely overbought in the 4 hour. But if it can come back, now it's got an opportunity. If we do get a little bit of a shake back down and it holds that 115.5, it very well could push off that rising wedge area of that resistance over the top at 126. So this is getting very interesting indeed. Garbanzo, welcome in and thanks for being in Tom's 3+ months with the XP Predictor. Yeah, Bob. I'm excited too. I'm excited too. Bob bought a few weeks back 60,000. Lenia had heard about Swift Connection some weeks ago. Excited to see what it might do. Excellent. I do too. I don't know. I'm just starting to look deeper into the Lenia blockchain the last couple of weeks. Let me take a picture of that. I'll take a look at Foxy. I don't know anything about it, so I can't give you any kind of answer, and I'm not even going to look at the chart until I give it the proper. I just took a picture so that I can remember. Thank you for that. I'll look into it deeper, Lou. Check back here in a few days. I'll talk about it. Your buddy almost lost the bag on S&P 500 put. Ooh. Don't bet against the trend. Especially in an overinflated market. Remember, they got to keep the rich richer. That's why they keep the stock market propped up until they do a wholesale shuffle. And then the rich, remember, they have so much money, they just buy it all back. And then when it comes up, they have even more while we all go broke. Never assume the market, the trend is your friend. Exactly. Don Glass, you are welcome, my friend. Diesel, good morning. You're welcome, says we thank you. Lonzo says confidence, 100%. Without confidence, you know, what do we really have? What do we really have? Ronald Grum says, I went from 4 figs in crypto in 2020 to 6 figs. Now, happily, I'll take my principal out longer. Oh, see, you're doing it well. Beautiful. Beautiful job, my friend. Joseph Euler, thanks again for being in town for 6+ months with the XP Predictor and sending that $20 donation. I love it. Ronald, yep, you got the XRP gains. I love it. Says I was irresponsibly buying at below 20 cents when the lawsuit news first dropped. Felt like an insane degenerate. Me too. I know exactly what you mean. I felt like it too in that cycle in 21 when that lawsuit was announced and buying it until that breakout. It was like nobody is thinking that's gonna happen. Oh, it was great. Let's see. Don Glass, my portfolio is at $4,000. I did buy XRP at 34, but don't have a. That's okay. That means you went from the $400 range to 4,000. That's what I'm talking about. Remember my process of the negative air to the penny air to the dollar air to the $100 air? You went from $100 air to $1,000 air because of XRP. That's a big step. Remember how hard it was when you were putting pennies together and trying to make money, or how hard it was to put $400 and try to make it into 4,000? Now the point is that you've got around 4,000, right? So that's a big difference from hundreds to thousands. Big difference. Because now that next move, if you stay in the transgression, that instead of 400 to 4,000, it's 4,000 to 40,000. It's hard to keep your mind in that line of thinking, but that's what you have to do. You look at it in multiples of 10, even though it takes time. Because the only way to get to 100 to 1,000 is in a multiple of 10. The only way to get to 1,000 to 10,000 air, because you go from 1,000 to 10,000 air to 100,000 air. There's a step in between, right? So right now you're working on becoming 1,000 air to 10,000 air. And then when you get that 10x from 10,000 air to 100,000 air, it gets interesting, because that's what happened to me on this recent one. Now the one from 100,000 to 1,000,000 is going to be the life-changing one, because, well, my assets are moving up because my house is paid off and things like that. But this is all big transcendence, and you have to take it step by step. Just be blessed that you're not in the penny to dollar or the dollar to 100. You're in the $1,000 to $10,000 range now. You're trying to make that move. That's a big step. That's where it goes very quickly. And it's also hard on the mind, because when you were used to a $40 loss, now it's going to be a $400 loss. Or when you were used to a $40 gain on 10%, now it's a $400. It's a big freaking difference. And I appreciate you sharing your journey, because you are in a perfect spot right now of your transcendence. Evo, welcome in, along with Terry Hayes and Iron Addict. Oh, thank you for saying hard work right there with the old muscle. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. Tom's Guns. I love it. Macho Man, Tommy Savage. I love it all. Ooh, yeah. Snap into a sleep. I love it. Mr. Bob Cornbud says, get them pat under the I love it. He caught onto my secret. Oh, shit. But thanks for being in Tom's Army for 3+ months with the XRP Predictor. I mean, the XRP Meteor, Mr. Popcorn Bud. I love it. Love it. Great, Paul. Good morning. Amen indeed. Amen. What a glorious morning we have here with all of us. The biceps are for show. Triceps are for work. Absolutely. Absolutely. You are so right about that. And Ronald, you're right about you will make gains regardless of weight as long as you go to failure. And you don't have to be to where your muscles feel like they're going to fall off because there's a fine line. I believe, I agree with Jay Cutler in that sense. I don't like to go to extreme failure, but I like to go to failure in a sense where you can feel the lactic acid burning through in a real way. It's getting harder and harder. That 40 pounds feels like 4 billion pounds. But I don't like to go to where I have that extreme throbbing because I feel like that's when you get into tears and things like that. So I agree with Jay Cutler. I don't agree with the steroid use. But Jay Cutler, Ronnie Coleman, and all of them, they'll teach you a lot, but they'll also teach you, especially Ronnie Coleman, what happens when you fuck around and find out, because his back is so shot he can barely walk. But he ignored it. They all say it was a bot surgery, but his back was so bad that the odds of not botching something at that point. So anyhow, but they can teach you a lot. Stay away from the anabolics. But they teach you a lot. But I like Jay Cutler a lot. He really does teach you a lot. You know who else taught me a lot? And he rest in peace, Rick Panini. But he was a truth teller about the anabolics. But he taught you a lot about the triceps and different things. And he taught you about how most kinds of protein is bullshit, even though he sold his own supplement. But he taught you about the protein isolate, the wheat isolate, doing the isolates versus the other shit. And how a lot of stuff, they all teach you a lot of stuff, but stay away from the anabolics. Stay away from it. Please. Do it normal. It takes a lot of time. This has been I started 2 weeks before Halloween in 2022. So this is 3 years now of consistency. Besides when I broke my forearm and my hand and my finger, and I had to stay out for 8 weeks, but I went back, and that's what helped me get my flexibility back because of trying to grip the weights and things like that. That was my own rehab, and it worked, thankfully. But yeah, it's the same thing. It's not just weights though. It's the dedication of your diet, or it's the dedication of our crypto portfolios, or being patient and understanding that it's not all in one motion. It's over time. But you also have to do it with the right consistency. You can't do the wrong exercise and do it in the wrong way and expect to get these great gains. Now you're going to get a big injury. You might get a little bit of muscle, but you're going to gain a whole bunch. You ever see the people that work out in the gym and they never gain any muscle? They're always lifting weights. They never seem to gain any real muscle. It's because they're not working out properly. I used to be that person where you're working out and you're like, I'm getting stronger, but I really don't look any different. I might be losing weight, but the muscle definitely isn't keeping up. Because I wasn't doing it right. Once I dropped the weights down, these last 3 years, I was like, man, if I would have, fucking hey. It took me 10 to even get close. Let's see. Florida attorney, welcome in. Let's see who else I missed, because we're getting close here to the end. I mean, it's already been almost an hour. We should have a live here tonight. Around 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, somewhere in there. So, my son's doctor's appointment went great yesterday. I know a lot of people were asking. His inner ear infection is starting to be on the mend. It went from being red to where it's starting to show signs of going the other way. Nothing was in his chest cavity. He did great. Weight was really good. They were happy what's happened over the last year. At some point, we'll have to get his eyes checked because, I wear glasses and, it's he could from distance. He might be hard, but with him, we really don't want him wearing them because he takes things apart and all this other stuff. So, in his little world, what he deals with, they're probably not going to make a big difference. But at some point, but we got his autism script that I needed. Not even a script, but the writing from the doctor. So we're going to continue that battle. We've been on the waiting list. It's a 5-year waiting list, so this should help move us up. For the diagnosis. It's such a pain in the ass, but I was all about business yesterday, and T did great. Couple moments where he was a little upset, but he did great. Best he's ever done. And he does not get the jab, so before I ever start, I say he's not blah, blah, blah in any way. It never has and never will be. So do not even bring it up, and they don't. So, Cannabis Podcast, welcome in, and thanks for being in Towns 6+ months with the XP Predictor. John Deaton casually mentioned he thinks extra people go to $6, $7, then drop it. Yeah, absolutely, because it will. We'll probably get that 50 to 75% retracement after the move to $6 to $7. I agree with that. That doesn't mean that it's going to be over, though. Just think of XRP going from $6 plus, and then its consolidation being around where all-time highs is right now as the new support structure. Could you imagine XRP's new support's at the old all-time high? So everybody who thought they were getting in cheap, now it's 10x higher. That's what I'm talking about, taking out retail. It doesn't have to go to 50, but just keeping it at a minimum of 350 after a push up to 650. Could you imagine if everybody's waiting and the next low to buy in is 350? That means it'd be 10x higher than where we bought in, and that would be the new floor. That's the scary shit I'm talking about with XRP. Like, the boat might have been missed for all eternity for everybody if you weren't in. That's the scary shit of why I'm not selling any of those 10,000 tokens, period. I don't care what happens. Even if I got to ride it back to 35 cents, I don't care. I already had another bag that I made 30,000 plus on from 38 cents. So I'm more than comfortable right now. So I did it. Always have what you want and then a second bag so you can take the profit that you might crave now or need if you can afford it. And that's what I did. That's what a lot of us did, actually. We're in a good spot here. I mean, we are in a good spot as a community. Rick, welcome in, and thanks for being a very trusted mod in here. XDC, yes, I have over 100,000 tokens of XDC. I stuck to my notion when it held this movement. And I was trying to do the copy trade, all three here at 7.2, and then it didn't work. So I just said, fuck it. I got it on my crack, and I kept it. And I was trying to do it with the community, and then it just didn't work out with the copy trade. It never let the communities buy. And now it doesn't even work right now. I don't know what's going on. So something probably with us being in the USA. So I'm just going to hold it. And if it gives me the opportunity, I'm probably going to buy more. But I think this is like buying XRP at 35 cents right now. Maybe, how about this? Maybe it's like buying XRP at 50 cents. Because 35 would probably be somewhere around, 3.5. So just think of it at XRP 7 cents. When I used to say down here, such an opportunity, which we rode this as well all the way up. We just sold it and rebought back in. So what we did is we tried to take advantage of some swift movement here. So we bought it down here again. We had it at 2.8 and sold it way up here. Rebought it down here. Sold it up here after a 70% plus move. And then rebought it after a nice drop of about 30%. So, we've had it since 2.8, but we've been doing strategic stuff here. But this is the equivalent of buying XRP when it was in, that range. It's like buying XRP at 50 cents. Let's just call it for what it is. It's what this is the equivalent of right now. So, there's no doubt in my mind that at some point, this is going to reach my targets for the future. No doubt in my mind that it's going to hit 36 cents. No doubt. And it's going to go higher. I think at some point, this will be well over $1. It's so early right now. This is like buying XRP when it was dirt fucking cheap. It's not even like 35 cents because it's cheaper. But you see what I'm saying? It's like 35 cents. It is. It's like 35 cents on XRP. Let's face it, it's at 7 cents. A little over 7 cents. So if you were patient with XRP, you can be patient here too and start buying into it when you find the right spot. I'm not saying buy it today if you haven't bought it. I'm saying now that it broke over this area, it opened up the door to 8 cents. So I don't want you to fall victim of not buying it the whole time on this retracement of 30% when it hit our support and waiting for it to go all the way over the top. We had many opportunities in this consolidation. So just pay attention to some of these. And this cleared out a lot. And yes, it can go farther down, but if it pushes this next layer, then all of a sudden you're going to have to talk about buying it at not just 10.6. It might push this entire flag up. And that's the actual pattern consolidation. But think about this. If this is a flag that is now starting to push back out, it makes it a pretty interesting thing. Because think about it. this flag, and I'm not going all the way to the top because I don't want to give the exact numbers just in case it goes a little bit, you know, it can go higher. But now you're talking about if this is starting its breakout, you're talking about it's coming up here towards almost 12 cents. That's a huge, that's 50%. No, more than that. You'd be paying a premium now after this drop. You never want to pay the premium. If you're going to get in, you buy it at structural areas. So now even from where it's at now, if you wait to buy it here, it's at a 54% premium just from the move where it could happen if it does end up breaking out. No one says it is, but it's the risk you run because it came down so many times, that support structure, and it seems to be a descending triangle there in the formation. It's just catching up to it long term. That looks like a descending triangle is forming. And now is it finally caught up? Is this finally catching up? I don't know, but that very well could be telling us, oh man, all this is in my way. Hold on. Where was this at? Yeah, right here. Could this be a descending triangle formed? And we know the apex is late October. So, I mean, we are getting very close here to some kind of big momentum shift. Telling you, when you can start to see the pumpkins, you can start to feel it. Now, there might be one more drop in store, but we're getting close. I don't use it for primary savings, but some of my choices are as follows. Ooh, I got to read this wrong. KO, F, PG, VYM, and DTWO. You have a lot of safeguards there and dividend payers. I like it. Because you have Vanguard, Schwab, Berkshire. I like sticking with the ones that are going to be around. I do. Like, I love Vanguard. You know, Charles Schwab, and Schwab will be there. Berkshire or Hathaway will be there. Rick, you subscribed to Crypto Mentor 99 2 weeks ago. Excellent. Yes, please subscribe to CM99 on YouTube. He once gave me a shout out because he's been around since 2018, back in 22. And I had like 7,000 or 6,000 subscribers. And he goes, I can't believe this guy only has 6,000 subscribers. Or so he kept saying, I can't believe it. He's like, this won't be like this for long. I'm like, I can't believe this guy talked about me. He's got 18,000 subscribers or 17. He keeps it real, so not as many people follow because he keeps it so real. But he gets the right subscribers for him. I think he should have 100,000 for what he does, honestly. But now I have 47,000, so he must have seen something that was different in me. He was even a paid subscriber for some time, pushing my community. It was great. He still does. He never said anything but good things about me. I'm actually a paid subscriber of his. More people need to support him for that $2.99 a month. He puts out phenomenal stuff. I don't know if he's in his 70s, late 60s, but he looks phenomenal for his age too. For any age, he does a good job keeping himself together. That's somebody, I love that guy. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? That's his little thing when he starts. I love it. And he's a big fan of XDC. Big fan. And XDC for the R3 Corda. So just think IOTA, the IoT mainframe for IOTA, Algo for a big wide scope, and a lot of people don't agree with me, but they're just like XRP in other countries. And think of that as 10x down. So you're getting it at a 90 to 95% premium, or on sale right now. Also, XRP for obviously the liquidity of banking for the central banking. That's a big part. Now when we look into other areas, Lenia, because of the connection with Swift, but not today. You got to find the right spot. We'll continue to evolve into that. And then we have Proton that we've been discussing as well because they're taking over credit unions, which is XPR, which is formerly Proton. A lot of people think it's a pile of shit, but I'm here to tell you, we've been talking about Proton since 21, and when we used to talk about it and that it was too expensive, it's so amazing. When I looked at it yesterday, the chart, I want to talk about this real quick. We had this chart out a long time ago. I don't remember which one it was. Was it on this one? This was the newer one that we started talking about, I believe. Yeah, this was the newer one. Gotta find it. Which one was it? Because there wasn't a lot of them at the time. That you could go through a nice history. Right here. We were talking about Proton, and I really wanted it, but it was too expensive, and we talked about the possibilities of it a long time ago. And it's funny when you start to see the pattern setup that we were talking about. We were talking about way back here. In my earlier days. Way early days. And you can see, because look at the support structures back then. So, I mean, you're talking about we're way below that right now. Where are we at right now? Gotta keep going. I think it'll let me go back 4 years like this. Probably not. I'll have to do it in the daily. Be easier. So we were talking about it way back here on this initial push up back here. Remember when we had this parabolic spike? So we're in the 1.4, 1.2 area. It went all the way up to 4.6. Now over all this time, we can almost pinch ourselves with how cheap it got. And with some of these announcements. So we're going to watch this a little bit closer. I'm not going to do it on the old chart. We'll do it on the new one that we devolved into yesterday a little bit. But there's some possibility that's happening. We talked about probably if it moves on and does what it needs to do, maybe it'll start to support this uptrend coming up. But we'll see. Because it's starting to do that inverse pattern setup. And the next layer it comes up to, it's going to start building it up here back at that 1.5 where it was at in 21. We've never come back up there. And it's still like a 200% move to get there. So, something to pay attention to. Especially with all this. Let this, maybe this short-term interest die down a little bit. Because it's going to find itself in a weird spot. But, you know, I'm not going to tell you not to take a dip. You can take a dip. Or do whatever you want to do. But this is one to pay attention to, I think. It is dirt cheap still. It's just not as cheap as it once was in the bottom of the cycle. I have more fascination as of right now. I have fascination with a lot of this. So I'm just going to see how this shakes out. I'm XRP Future Millionaire. Thank you all, everybody, for being in here. I got to get going. I got to get everything done while my son's in school. We'll be back tonight for another live. Kyle Coopy at Cape Cod. Kyle, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom Drummond for over 1 year. I told you so badge. Ronald says you also have to take in protein as a major macro, or you just repair rather than... Absolutely. And I bought, what I do every day at noon for my first thing I eat is I have these... It's an IsoPure, but it's a protein isolate. It's unsweetened. It has only a couple grams of carbs. It's got, I don't know, 20-something grams of protein. And then I take collagen peptides. I like, some people don't. I do because it gets you the essential, you know, just the essential stuff. And then that's another 14 grams of protein in that. And then I don't eat peanut butter. I mix it with protein powder. And it might be another 50 or 100 calories depending on how many scoops I do. But that also adds like 8 grams of, anywhere between 8 and 15 grams. Now your body only metabolizes so much, which is understandable. You're only getting like 30 grams or what, up to 50 maybe. But for muscle repairing and building, it's a little bit different. Because it needs to use it for repair. So you definitely can get the higher surges. So I always look forward to my protein at 12. And then the other thing is the more muscle you have, the more calories you need to build more. But you need to have clean calories, so you can eat more, like the nuts and the protein. You can have that, but eat your steak and your chicken, and you know, have your fruits and your vegetables. And like, I don't like to drink any kind of drink besides water. I only drink water throughout the day, like legitimately. I don't buy any kind of other drinks to drink. I drink water, and I think that I get my throw out of good water. So I'm not like. I don't really like to eat chips or anything like that either. So, I like to eat my fruit. I like to eat almonds, like maybe 100 or 200 calories worth of almonds a day. I like to have, and raw almonds, not the bullshit they give you. Raw, unsalted almonds. You know, and then I don't really eat much besides that. I like apples. And then I just eat my meal. I eat one meal a day outside of my protein. That drink I just talked about. But yeah, it's pretty confined. It's pretty confined what I do. I try to eat the same things every day. You know, and it's hard though because they put a lot of BS in a lot of things, but you know, that's all we can do. That's all we can do. That's right, grass-fed and finished beef. You are damn right, nature's protein. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Dan. You are so right about that. I pay a lot more for the grass-fed and you know the free-range chickens and the ones from the fire. It costs 3 or 4 times more to buy the right kind of meat, but it's worth every moment. And hemp, you're right about that. Hemp is a certified superfood with all essential vitamins and minimal minerals. Stay healthy. Yo, health ID well. Yeah, exactly. You're right about that. I use hemp. I don't like to use the hemp that's derived from a seed. The male seed, I like to use it from the plant, as you know the difference, I'm sure. Obviously, I watch you all the time. But yeah, hemp is great, especially for recovery as well. I like, especially the cannabis itself with the THC and the cannabinoids, and you start to get into the THCA and some of the CBCAs and some of the other ones that you don't really hear about that will help with muscle recovery and like just muscle fiber and killing off dead cells. Watch Cannabis Podcast for more information there. Seriously. When I buy Lenia, I'm gonna buy it on. I have the money set to the side on TOOBIT. You can buy it on a couple different exchanges though. It's on BitUnix. It's on WeX. I believe it's on Kraken. It is on Kraken. It's on a lot of them, but I'm buying it on Lenia because it's the next step for me with what I used to do on BitUnix, because they're starting to push more towards relations with the U.S. instead of away like BitUnix. But I still have $4,000 on BitUnix. I'm not going to not do anything on there. It's just I cautiously will buy and send it or do what I got to do. But anyhow, have a blessed one, everybody. Thank you all so much for all the input. It's been a blessing to have all of you. Hopefully you subscribed if you're new. You shared this. You hit the like button. We had 106 likes. Okay.